If I could go and call a meeting to order and get Representative Harden to say a prayer, and I didn't know today was officially funeral home day, so if you will at least ask the good Lord not to let Patty get any business off of any of us getting home. So, buddy.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Join me in prayer, please. Father in heaven, we come together today in prayer to just praise your holy name. Father, for all your goodness toward us, for all the things that you enable us to do for the people of this state. Father, we thank you for everyone in this room who is working together to see that our state is a place that is the place that our people would want to be. Father, we just ask for your guidance this morning, and as we make these deliberations and as we hear these presentations, bless the people that are here and us, Father, in your service. These things we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you, sir. And most of you know today's PB&J day, so the Capitol will be smelling pretty good in about an hour or two. We appreciate the Peanut folks for doing all that they do for us. I'm going to take a right quick upon a personal privilege, I guess you'd call it. This is the first day that my wife has ever been able to come to a ag committee meeting. She retired from teaching, but she's back teaching high school and working full time on a honeydew list. So, Jane, I think in 22 years, this is the first time she's been able to come to one. She don't like early meetings.
Do we have the extra crunchy peanut butter sandwich?
Well,
Do you have the extra crunchy peanut butter sandwich?
we got a couple of things we got to do, but and I just figured that out about 5:24 when Cindy sent me an email last night. But before we get started, Dr. Cobb was going to give us an update on avian flu or whatever else he wants to talk about. He has an appointment at 9 o'clock, so Dr. Cobb, if you would, I had that mic on. I didn't know they were going to put all that propaganda there.
Talk over the propaganda. How about that?
Wait just a minute. Who is for? That's somebody. Oh, okay. It was blinking. I thought you wanted to say something. Okay, Doc, go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for the opportunity to talk a little bit about avian influenza. I know we've talked a lot about it, but I want to give you kind of a brief update as to where we stand at the moment. As you know, last year it caused a tremendous problem across the country. Primarily in Iowa, which is our primary egg-laying state in the country, and in Minnesota, which is one of the top two turkey-producing states in the country. It did not cause a lot of trouble in our broiler industry simply because of where we live. Where the broiler industry is, the virus didn't come down into the South Atlantic area in the Atlantic flyway. Remember, there are 4 flyways. Well, it raised its head again this year. In January, on the 15th of January, it showed up in Indiana. It was a different virus, though. Last year, we had H5N2. It was a wild, highly pathogenic virus that was out in the wild. This year, it was H7N8. And that's what happened was a low pathogenic virus mutated, which is what our concern is at all times, because the fact that avian influenza viruses are very capable of mutating both in chickens and in dogs and cattle, in horses and people. All influenza viruses like to change, and that's what happened. On the 15th, in Indiana, this was in turkeys again. On the 15th of Indiana, the producer, the farm that was affected, he'd been having something that is highly pathogenic avian influenza, H7N8. Immediately, Indiana, unlike Iowa and Minnesota, and like Georgia, they have been planning for quite a long time and really have been working hard to get ready, and they were able to contain this virus like that. It wound up that there were a total of 10 premises, all within the same zone. They immediately formed a zone and started testing. Only the one index premise was highly pathogenic. The others were in 24 hours, that's something to remember. That's key. And that the other ones were depopulated within, all 10 of them were depopulated within a period of 3 days. Okay, so they did an excellent job, and they even went above and beyond. Our plan calls for us to do surveillance within this 10-kilometer zone and test all commercial poultry and possibly all backyard poultry as well, but at least within a 2-kilometer zone, test all backyard poultry. Well, Indiana went out another 10 kilometers. They tested thousands and thousands and thousands of backyard poultry, and also all the commercial within the area. That's all they found. They stopped it. It's a done deal. Okay? The things to take from this is we know avian influenza virus is out there in the wild waterfowl. Has been, will be, period. Okay? So what we have been working so hard to do, both at the department to get prepared for a response, but also to get outreach to provide prevention, as well as the poultry lab, as well as UGA, as well as the Georgia Poultry Federation. There's been a tremendous outreach to establish better biosecurity, because we can't stop these birds from coming and bringing a virus, but we can stop them from getting that virus into our domestic chickens, our domestic poultry of all kinds. All right. On another note, USDA Wildlife Services has tested about 40,000 wild waterfowl across the country. In the state of Georgia, they tested, what they did is they established watersheds. They didn't establish states. So they established watersheds, and the watersheds that were tested in our area were the Ochlockonee, the Apalachicola, the St. Johns, and the Suwannee. Okay, out of those 432 wild waterfowl were tested that came from Georgia in those watersheds, and 1,100 of them were tested that came from those watersheds in Florida. In Georgia, one H5 was found. There were some low pathogenics other than H5, but there was one H5 found, but they were not able to type it as to whether it was an H5N2, H5N6, whatever it was. Is working. I think if you will ask our poultry industry, normal everyday types of problems that occur have reduced in frequency simply because of biosecurity increase. And so I think we've got a new norm now. So my hat's off to the poultry industry, because they have worked very, very hard to do this. I'd be glad to take any questions, if there are any.
Anybody have any questions for Dr. Cobb or Mike or Abbott? Do either one of y'all have anything you want to add about what
Just quickly,
y'all are doing?
Dr. Cobb is right. A lot of work's gone into this, and we want to thank Dr. Cobb, his team, and Commissioner Black's leadership they've provided. It really is a team effort, and we met really through the summer and fall, weekly talk and email on the phone daily, and the partnership is really outstanding. So we appreciate the commitment that the department and other state agencies put forward to building this team. Now our job is just to sustain it going forward, and I know we will.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thanks, y'all. Let me add quickly. No state is better prepared than is Georgia, and thanks to y'all and the Department of Agriculture and all the others. Those other states were as well prepared as Georgia. They would not have had the problem they had. And let me add that Mike developed a great campaign for Georgia that has been adopted by all of the other major poultry states and highly recognized across the country. He's ever come speak to the board of directors of the National Chicken Council because of the campaign that he developed. Some of y'all know about that as well.
To kind of follow up on what Mr. Abbott said, I've sat through USDA meetings on this problem and sat through meetings with Dr. Cobb and Gary and them, and I'm going to tell y'all be glad you live in Georgia and ain't dependent on USDA. So they are ready if it ever hits. Buddy?
Thank you.
It's right here.
Oh,
It's me,
Rick.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Dr. Cobb. Yeah,
Yes,
I
sir.
sure appreciate what y'all are doing. And in the background testing that you're doing in the backyard flocks and all that, are you seeing low path, or are you just seeing nothing?
Yeah, there's about a 20%, I believe it's somewhere around 20% finding of low path out there.
Okay,
but,
just
but
in the
other
general.
than H5, H7.
Right.
You know, there are multiple H's and multiple
yeah,
N's,
yeah.
but it's the H5 and the H7 version that have the tendency to become highly pathogenic. The H3s and H2s and those kinds of things generally do not.
Right.
So they're finding those kind of things about a 20% level.
Okay.
But not the H5s and H7s.
Right. Okay, great. I guess it's for the commissioner too, and our poultry guys brought it up. So we went through this great time of awareness, and we've all done all this work, Commissioner. And what are we going to do to sustain it? I know the poultry industry, Mike and Abbott's posse will work real hard, but on the backyard flock, game bird producer, what are we going to do to keep encouraging them to be vigilant, to be a partner in this thing? I guess is what I'm asking, because I know that's the key to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Representative, this is the new norm. There is no going back.
mm-hmm.
And so we're going to be vigilant. Now, if we may get to a point where we're not having 9 o'clock Tuesday morning war room meeting like we have every week. And actually some of the industry things on Friday, Mike, they sort of, we've kind of gone to every other week on that. But our mindset's, this is a normal course of business now, and because it's paying off. Biosecurity measures that everybody's finally, it's kind of dawning on them that even though throughout your entire career you told producers this is what you ought to do, and they say, oh, okay, whatever. But now that they've got foot washes, they're diligently, they've got different set of boots in every house, they're doing the things that you ought to do, and actually cutting down. It's reducing business at the lab because LT's under control, and some of the other things that were normal, these practices are actually helping, and that's winding up helping profitability for the producers. And so hopefully they're going to see, the economic benefit of actually maintaining this new behavior.
Well, sure, I agree. Yeah, I agree, Commissioner. I just wondered about on the education side. I mean, I think the industry's on it. We got that tied up, but on the homeowner, small thing, that's where education, that's where I worry about. We've done all this, and now it's just going to start fading away. And, how can we, with industry support, your support, through Georgia Grown, can we just keep this something that's out there and people think about, know about?
We hope, and this is something we do need to get back on from Georgia Grown's standpoint, is like is a master gardener, and we've talked seriously with the Extension Service about having a master poultry backyard chicken certification or something, and do that collaboratively. And we've had some of that, but not the regimented, 12 hours of something. And I think that would be another one of those things for people to have a certificate that makes them feel good, and that gives us that opportunity to get face to face with people.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for the work y'all have done on this. We appreciate it.
May I
Go
add
ahead.
something,
Yes,
please,
sir.
briefly? This is spilling over to other than poultry. In other words, this biosecurity awareness is spilling over into our cattle industry, is spilling over into our swine industry. It's working across the board. And these industries have looked to what's happened in poultry and what can happen, and how responses have been done, and all this work that we've put in creating these incident management teams, having all these trainings and all this. This will work for avian influenza, but it'll also work for foot and mouth disease. It'll also work for PED. Any big disease that comes along. This is how we will manage it, and this is and how we will get messaging out and so forth. this is beyond just avian influenza preparation.
Yes, sir. Well, thank y'all for your work. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dr. Cobb came to Elberton a while back and gave a speech on it, and within about 2 days, all the banks that had all this money strung out on poultry houses had foot baths, and where you walk in the door, the Farm Bureau office has a foot bath where you walk in the door because they got the insurance on them. So all of this is spilling over into more than just agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck, is that you?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Dr. Cobb, let me ask you, Georgia's got a wild turkey population, 250, 350,000 somewhere in there, and pretty much scattered around the state. How does the wild turkey population factor into the equation, if at all, and if it does factor in, is DNR at the table, or what's the situation there?
Dr. Cobb, I'm working on that too.
Okay.
The wild turkey population.
All right.
Season hadn't opened yet. I hope you're not working on it.
Yeah.
Does yours fly?
Short distances.
Short distance. Yes, DNR is at the table. We have very much been hand in hand with DNR throughout all our preparations. They actually have contributed about a dozen individuals to form 2 depopulation teams. So they're intimately involved with all of our planning. As far as the wild turkey population is concerned, there has been no confirmed positive avian influenza in a wild turkey across the country that's been notated. They're susceptible. Turkeys are one of the maybe the most susceptible of the species, okay, that are out there as far as turkeys and chickens and quail and guineas and peafowl and that kind of thing. But there's been no documentation of wild turkeys being affected. Okay. Whether that has to do with some kind of resistance, which I doubt, but whether it has to do with the fact that these are highland birds. In other words, they're not down in amongst the waterfowl as much. They're on the high ground, and so they're not intimately involved with the waterfowl. That may be that in my mind. That's probably a larger part of it.
Thank you.
Dominic, is that you? Number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kind of along the lines what Chairman Jasper shared with education. Coffee County is the largest county that I serve, and it's also one of the largest poultry producer counties in the state. Back when the processing plant, Pilgrim's Pride, shut down, they filled up 2 gymnasiums with growers. I mean, it went crazy. You can't get 5 of them together over breakfast to talk about this issue. What can we do to encourage or promote the importance of this issue as it relates to preparation and what if and reaction in the worst case scenario? And it kind of ties in with some concerns I personally have had with the use of litter on fields, and again, I don't know anything about what you do and how you test and what the consequences might be, and highly pathogenic versus low and all that. But my old country boy mentality is, when you're spreading things that come out of a chicken house over a 60, 40, 30, 20 acre field, what's the risk kind of in that? So it's a 2-part question. How do you get these growers serious about the risk, and what do you do if something happens? And is the spreading of that litter possibly an issue as it relates to this?
I'll be glad to address some of that for you, and Mike might want to have a comment as well. Let's start with the litter, okay? Every single commercial flock that goes to slaughter is tested for avian influenza prior to it going, okay? So the litter that comes out of those houses is coming from birds that were tested negative for avian influenza. So therefore, the litter is safe, okay? Now, We have concerns about runoff and whatnot like that, where it's piled in a huge pile, and there are rules and regulations as far as manure handlers, how they're supposed to do that, and that's in code. Okay, all right. As far as does that answer your question about litter? Now, in a disease outbreak, yes, the litter is just as infectious as the bird is. Okay, so it has to be handled as an infected bird. It's actually composted with the bird. It's buried if you use that method with the bird. It goes to a landfill with the bird if you use landfilling. It's treated as if it were an infected bird. Now, if you go through composting and it's done properly, which is in these scenarios, this composting is monitored very carefully daily for temperatures and whatnot, and you have to reach a certain temperature for a certain period of time to kill the virus and this kind of thing. Once that's accomplished, there's no virus in there. Okay? Perception may be difficult to be able to utilize that product out on the field, but as far as virus contamination of that product, it should not be there. It should be safe to use. Okay? Could you give me another part of the question?
The first part was just it doesn't appear that the growers are as engaged as maybe. And again, this is the difference in the way that I work and kind of the way that I think from a 50,000-foot view from what we do up here. The growers just don't seem to be closely engaged in the importance that I hear coming out of your voice and out of the commissioner's voice. They just kind of going about business as usual, waiting their 6 or 8 weeks to get them on a truck and get a check. And I don't mean that in a negative, critical way, because that's what they do for a living. But you shut down their ability to make money, and 500 of them show up in a gymnasium. But that is not even a drop in the bucket of what would happen if something like this were to come to that community.
Well, as far as addressing that, the grower awareness and the grower preparations, we have had, I don't know how many, I didn't count, over 50 that Dr. Zavala has done. Dr. Zavala, who is director of our poultry lab, she herself has done over 50 grower meetings that we've gone out and presented all this information to them. Poultry companies, each and every poultry company has been involved with that to promote that within their growers. In addition to those 50-something meetings, we at the department have made in excess of that as well. Okay, across the state, not only with just growers, but also dealing with extension, dealing with public health, those kinds of things across the whole state. And this has gone on for months and months and months and months to get this word out. Now, thing to bear in mind is this: the basic principle of biosecurity is there's a line right there, and nothing crosses that line except what I allow to cross that line that has been properly cleaned, disinfected, and is safe. Okay? So growers, who are these people that are going in their houses every day, don't like to congregate, because when they congregate, they have the increased risk of bringing what Farmer Joe brought to the meeting and taking it home with them. Does that make sense to you? So the fact that we were able to accomplish all these grower meetings that were accomplished was something really new within the industry because of that very reason, because of the biosecurity risk. But there has been lots of outreach done to the growers specifically, and also to the backyard poultry. Mike, would you?
I'll just add that covers it well. The campaign that Abbott referenced was, we realized last year that we needed to be sending a consistent educational message to growers, and that's when we developed the All In or All Gone campaign, branding campaign. We send a message to all growers in the state weekly. There's a website with educational resources. As a matter of fact, 70% of growers, broiler growers in the nation now are receiving the same message. So that has continued. we're well over 6, 7 months into that. We're continuing a weekly message and just hitting those consistent themes. And it's kind of designed like a health and safety campaign, like click it or ticket. Basically, biosecurity measures are simple things. They know they've been communicated to them before, but these are just weekly reminders of putting this top of mind and emphasizing the importance of that. So that'll continue. And I hear anecdotes. It's hard to measure other than the fact that our more routine diseases have gone way, way down, and we believe that's because of biosecurity. But I hear anecdotes of for example, a grower who wouldn't let his dad come onto his farm to pick up his boat that he was storing there, to many examples of growers, saying, okay, no visitors, things are different, and we believe it's being adopted, but we got to keep that up. We can't lose the progress that we've already made.
But if there's something you want to share, the program he's saying is an excellent one. And also at the department, we have a web part of our web page is dedicated to avian influenza information and biosecurity data and so forth that can be utilized.
Patty, you through, Dom? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Dr. Cobb, for sharing your information this morning. I'm just curious to know, has there been any discussion with the Department of Public Health regarding any type of outbreak? I know when there was a lot of discussion about the Ebola outbreak, there was some plans put in place with the Department of Public Health to address my side of the business, in the event that someone passes away from one of those diseases. Have there been any discussion with Department of Public Health in the event something like this happened from this influenza?
Yes, there has.
Okay.
Public health has been in our table, our planning table since the start. Okay, and things that we've talked about as far as implementing is we want to have our responders vaccinated for human flu. Although it's not going to protect them from avian influenza flu, but avian influenza to date, any and all the outbreaks that have occurred within the United States has not been zoonotic, meaning it has not been transmissible or infectious to humans. Okay. However, it can change in a heartbeat because there has been avian influenzas in the past that have been zoonotic in Asia and so forth. Okay. So we want to have our responders vaccinated for influenza because we don't want the human influenza. Let's say a responder has the flu, human flu, goes to respond. Okay, they're shedding this human virus, influenza virus. Well, it mixes up with this avian influenza virus that's out there, and now all of a sudden you pop out this brand new mutation that is zoonotic.
Right.
So that's what we've talked about with public health. In addition to that, public health will be monitoring all responders for illness. They'll also be monitoring the growers and everybody associated with this site. So we've been working very closely with public health.
Okay, very good. I just know and thank you for that. I just know when there was a lot of discussion about Ebola, the discussion with public health was how to handle a person's remains in the event that someone passes away from that type of disease. So
the remains.
Yes.
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't really have any input into that.
All right. I just know there was some discussion with public health on that, so that's why I was just curious. But maybe we can talk more about it. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chuck or Clay or whichever one.
I just wanted to state, and following up on Chairman McCall, y'all have done a great job, and I do appreciate it. I just wanted to publicly state you've done a great job in educating the growers. I lost several duck hunters over the last couple of years because of your great. So there's more opportunities for the non-poultry producer. But y'all have done a great job in educating those in our area. I appreciate that. Just want to publicly acknowledge that you really have done a great job.
Thank you, sir.
Patty, you want to say? Oh, that's Scott. Okay.
Turn on witness 2. That would probably be better.
I got you.
Thank you. Dr. Cobb and to Commissioner Black as well. Last summer we had that event where you guys put on the presentation for us and for other stakeholders, and I found that to be extraordinarily informative and educational. It was a fantastic, and I learned more about high path avian influenza in that 4 hours than I probably will ever know ever again. I mean, it was highly informative and valuable, and I just wanted to commend you for putting that on and encourage any other members, if you ever have an opportunity, if you care about this topic, to take them up on participating, because it really opened my eyes to just how devastating it could be, and the lengths that you guys were going to, the processes that you were going through, the safeguards you were putting in place. I just want to commend you for that, and thank you for it.
All right. I'm going to break right here for a second. We only have one person on this committee who is voluntarily not coming back next year. I hope everybody else does. And I hope she comes back as mayor of Atlanta next time she visits. Margaret, you want to say anything?
Well, I think I can talk loud enough. Yeah, I'm vacating my House seat in a very bittersweet way. I'm hoping next year to come back. I'll just be Margaret next year. I'll be a candidate for mayor. And in 2017, I hope to come back as mayor. So I hope when I come back next year, everybody doesn't say, Margaret who? I actually also voluntarily asked to be on this committee. I'm trying to think, 6 years ago. Chairman McCall called me up one day and asked if I would like to show a cow. And it took me, I think, about 4 attempts to understand exactly what he wanted me to do. But I ended up in Perry, Georgia, which I was very familiar with Perry, Georgia. My son races bicycles, and we go down there a lot for that. And I've ridden quite a bit through Perry, Georgia, and went there for Leadership Georgia, which I know Amy's a veteran of Leadership Georgia alumni. And went down and competitively showed a cow, and I was kind of scared of the cow at first. And the cow kept cutting its eyes over at me. And finally I worked with her and a young 15-year-old, and got real comfortable, and Lieutenant Governor and I came in 3rd and 4th, and we were going to contest it because the 1st and 2nd place winners, they had shown cows before, so we felt like we really had won. But I have loved being a member of this committee, and I'm going to miss it. I don't think it's really hit me yet that it's my last. Maybe Sunny Diet will, but I have loved being part of this committee and getting to know everybody, and especially everybody in the audience. And Commissioner Black, you as well. You're just going to wear out some shoe leather, I hear, going door to door for me. I'm going to leave you to that. But I wanted to just also thank Chairman McCall and Commissioner Black. I had a group of young there are urban farmers, and some of them are high school students, and so they're going to have an event on the 22nd of April where they're actually going to have what they grew from the rooftop garden in their cafeteria on April 22nd at Maynard Jackson High School, just a mile from here. So there's a lot going on. I told the chairman when I'm mayor, I have to say when, not if. When I'm mayor, I hope to put in place somebody that oversees agriculture in the city of Atlanta. We have a lot of backyard chickens. I have fresh eggs every morning from my chickens. We had a couple of goats for a while until our next door neighbors weren't too happy with it. So, but thank you for giving me this time. I was going to slip out because I have a 9 a.m. meeting, and I have a broken shoe, so I don't want to limp around the Capitol all day. So I'm going to plug out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think we all just look forward to having a mayor of this city who understands agriculture.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I may stay because Amy has an extra pair of size 8 shoes in her office. So.
Does anybody have any more questions for Dr. Cobb? He's got a appointment in just a minute, right?
Mm-hmm. I do.
So, all right. Preston, do you have a question?
Yes, sir. I'd like to ask the Department of Agriculture. I represent the Georgia Game Cow Breeders Association. We have several meetings, and even Dr. Cobb's office. I keep hearing about all these sessions and everything. Did y'all ever have a session with us?
Well, we get invited.
Sir?
Did we get invited?
Yes, sir.
When did we get invited?
You even commented about the letter. Don't you remember?
Yeah, but
we have to get permits.
If
from y'all
Dr.
all the
Cobb is
time.
invited to come and do a thing on avian influenza, we haven't missed a one.
No, but this was our show and where we had our members together. And also, I even asked Dr. Cobb for literature. You remember that?
Yep, we got you some, didn't we?
No, sir.
We got you some posters. You picked them up from my office.
No, sir, did not. The only literature I finally I got some from Dr. Louise, and we finally got somebody from the USDA to come to one of our meetings. And I think
Wait.
Chairman McCall was at that one.
Preston, this, never.
No, I would just like for all our members, you know, to hear about, we try to build, but we like assistance from y'all.
Yeah, but this department, I'm not aware of this department ever being invited to come make a presentation on AI
No, sir, you did
to
not.
your group, that we denied that opportunity.
No, sir, I did not ask you specifically.
Okay, well, it's hard for us to come do an AI presentation if we don't get invited. We're happy to do that. We'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it today.
Thank you.
And I've been being texted all during this meeting. so
Yeah,
I
there's a
don't know
problem
if
with
this is a
cooking
little late.
peanuts or something, ain't it? I don't know what's going on with that, but, anyway, Doc, thank you.
Yes,
Go
sir.
get to your meeting.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Gary, I know
Good job.
you getting called in and out.
Mr. Chairman, I'm
Call-
sorry.
No,
It's-
that's great.
If
I did, as long as you get it straightened out.
Because the fire marshal downstairs won't let the peanut people fry peanuts like they've been doing for 30 years.
I ain't been doing it but for 20 years, so.
I'm waiting for Commissioner Hudgens to call me back. I hope he's in consultation with the fire marshal right now.
Okay. So you want to talk to us about Georgia Grown, and then we got to do an ex officio, so I got to have at least 8 people here.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. We're gonna hit 5 quick high points. Don't be. This doesn't mean we'll respect the time, and thank you for just the chance to do this. It's going very, very well. I'd like for us to kind of do a little. Jack is here, and Neil Gilbert's here from our team, and if we just take a couple minutes apiece to hit first the fundamentals of it, the growth of the program. And then Jack's going to talk about that, and then where it's impacting farmers. Neil's going to talk about the message just a second, because he and his team, it's some amazing things happening there. And then I'll come back and talk about food and where this thing's going with schools too. But Jack, would you hit those high points right quick?
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, all House members. Involved in private industry, there was a word that I never understood. They told me on our marketing team that we really need to grow our business organically. Well, they didn't realize I had an agricultural background, and when I thought of growing something organically, it meant something entirely different than it did in the world of business. But I think I do now finally understand it. The Georgia Grown program, for the first time, I think, since we relaunched it, is now growing organically. By that statement, we are gleaning and gaining about 5 paid members per week on average, with no interaction, nobody going and telling them about the program, nobody trying to introduce them to the program. They're simply seeing the success of it and moving forward with it. We're approaching, and I wanted to be able to come here today and report that we have 900 paid members at this point. I will only be able to say we have close to, maybe almost 900. So without a diligent count today, I'm not sure we're at that number, but we're very close. Again, in the theme of organic growth, this showed up on my desk from the evil weed people, the Tobacco Commission. Nobody asked them to do this. Nobody had an input in doing this, that they wanted to use the Georgia Grown, and it's on every bale of cotton, every bale of tobacco produced in this state today. So if anybody wants one of these tags and would love to have one, I'm sure we can see that we can do that. One of the things we celebrated yesterday was the Governor's Ag Day over at the depot. I know some of you got to attend, but it was also the closeout of the Flavor of Georgia from the University of Georgia. The number of those people who were Georgia Grown members who participated at the Flavor of Georgia competition, I think 90% of the people who were participants remember this program, and I think a lot of those people came and have grown their business because of this program. And whether it be the farm community or whether it be the entrepreneur who is making the jams, jellies, barbecue sauces, and rubs, our outreach to those people and getting them in business, making their business grow, and giving those opportunities has been pretty dramatic. One quick sidebar I'll share on membership basis and on what we've tried to accomplish there. It is a pay-to-play, folks. These are paying members. They are a part of this. They have a piece of this. They are bought in. It is their program as members who participate in it. We sent one of our team members to Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. There were some 38 state brands represented there because, as we all know, there's a lot of states who are trying to glorify, and that's not a bad word, glorify their agriculture and agribusiness. And I was real curious as to what we would learn at that conference. I was disappointed to learn that we didn't learn much. We became the podium, we became the speaker, we became the gold-plated standard that everybody wanted to learn from us. That's quite flattering, but apparently we have set a pretty high bar among other states' opinions, and we're real proud of that. But it causes us, when you're the lead dog, your view out front, you got to watch for the airs coming to your backside. Obviously, when you're the scout of this, but real pleased. Efforts, like I say, the organic growth is real exciting to us, and we look forward to coming back next year and telling you that because of that organic growth, maybe our membership has just forgot about the 1,000 level, and we'll come back with the 2,000 level. Thank you very much. The overall grand prize winner was the lady with the caramel pecan pie. Yes. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. From the farmer's side of it, quickly, if I might. Thank you, Commissioner. We had a meeting last Wednesday with Harvey's. Harvey's has had ownership changes. Harvey's is a chain of some 60 groceries all over South Georgia, serving those great, wonderful communities down there where there are no Krogers and no big players. They are relaunching under their new CEO that we are a local South Georgia grocery chain. We're established in Nashville, Georgia, and we had a group of some 12 entrepreneurs and farmers such as Southern Valley Produce and all these people who are growing it out of the fields come to help Harvey's relaunch their local Georgia-grown program. That was last Wednesday. Then last Friday at Lewis Taylor Farms, all of the Kroger produce executives came there, and along with other farmers from all over the southern part of the state came there. And Kroger was focused on the fact that if we are going to ascribe to the hottest thing in the world, which is locally grown, it is Georgia grown. And those farmers and Georgia grown members were there for one-on-one discussions with all those with all those Kroger produce managers and buyers. And that was a day event of a tour, seeing actual vegetables in the field being packed. And those Kroger people, which gave every one of us our cards, they said our future is Georgia grown. We are fully involved, and we are going to continue. It is our ticket to the future. Are we going to save all the other questions for last, maybe? Okay.
Thank you, Chairman, committee members. Hope everybody's having a good morning. So to speak a little bit on the messaging, kind of like Jack said, it's a really exciting time for Georgia Grown. We're growing tremendously, and we're putting a lot behind it, especially behind the scenes, with this powerful branding tool we have right here, the Georgia Grown brand. So if you are a Georgia Grown member, you do pay in, and there are a number of benefits, but by far the best benefit is whenever you take this powerful brand and you put it on your packaging. So that way our consumers around the state and really around the United States can get the feeling that they're buying something local, that they're supporting local, they're supporting our local farmers. And even beyond that, this feeling, this symbol kind of embodies that feeling of home, of community. And that's kind of the messaging that we're putting across. And we're doing it through a number of outlets. You've probably seen us at a lot of events with our giant Georgia-grown tents and displays and everything to, reach people right at point of sale pretty much, to talk to them about our brand and about what we do. Beyond that, I don't know if any of you have read this. This is our Georgia-grown magazine. We put this out once a year. It's similar to a Southern Living, but very Georgia-centric, completely Georgia-centric. So you'll see in here actual members and stories of those members, and it's been a great tool just to give out for free. And think I'll pass one around if anybody wants to take a look at it, and I'm sure you should grab one on your way out. We also have our merchandising. You'll see a number of stickers, different types of shirts, I Am Georgia Grown, hats, all sorts of things like that our really the constituents around the state of Georgia have been very good about wanting to purchase. Our merchandise sales have increased year after year to show that, not only do the farm and the ag communities support Georgia Grown, but Georgians in general support Georgia Grown. And I think one of our biggest success stories is with our social media accounts. I don't know if anyone follows us on Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest with Georgia Grown, but we have been extremely successful, so much so that we're pumping more resources behind our social media. The fact that we can use geo-targeting and target customer-specific buying habits to look for people who want to support the local movement, that's been very beneficial. And so we actually made a goal to increase in our Facebook following by 50% over the next year. In the past 3 weeks, we have already completed that goal, actually. We've gone from 15,000 to 23,000 likes on Facebook, and that's in 3 weeks with, honestly, not even half of the resources we had dedicated to that because we thought it would take a year. So that kind of shows how much low-hanging fruit there is in support of this program and what we're doing. When you can gain 8,000 followers in 3 weeks, that's pretty impressive. So be sure that you're following us on all of our social media outlets. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yep. Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, we'll put a bow on it, and thank y'all for this chance. One, we thank you for your confidence in letting us do this, because it's making a difference for people, and it's making a difference. It's putting people in business. And it's but we're just kind of getting started still, even as much progress we make. I want to talk real quickly about food and then about the school side. From when it comes to food, here's 6 examples. If y'all would like to pass them around, some of these, this is a brand new one, this is a brand new one, this is a brand new one. These are have got a little history behind them, but I didn't say open them. I said pass them around, and but you're of how literally getting into the thousands of products where the license holders are taking the brand and using it in their product. There are 2 of them here. The Verdant Kitchens product here, not that particular one, but they had a product that was one of Oprah's favorite things for Christmas this year. The Oliver's Oil was a Gun Garden Magazine Food of the Year this year, and so then when you take that product and then you take the brand, and all of a sudden it's in Garden and Gun, and we didn't pay for it. That's pretty cool when that type of thing happens. But you can see just various examples. On the food side too, we were fortunate last October, and so some of you knew this, but maybe you don't know that we've already been re-invited, but kind of blew New York away last October with our first James Beard Foundation dinner at the Beard home, and it was crazy. And but we were invited back. We're going June 18th. Our 5 Georgia Grown chefs from this year that we cooperate with the Restaurant Association, they're going. They each have a course. Promotion on that will begin pretty quickly. And realize those are the kinds of things. Besides our staff time, and I guess we've probably got a hotel room or 2 in it. We get that paid for. We're not pumping lots of our limited money into that. We got people wanting to do that, so that's cool. Same thing with a magazine. There's not a dime of taxpayer money in this. This is supported by the members. So those kind of things are continuing to flourish on the food side, and there's a lot more to come. Wrap up with schools. We've had Feed My School for a week that's been ongoing, and we're in 39 schools right now. Have made a big impact to showing people how they can buy Georgia Grown for a 1 week, stay within budget. And then I know Representative Quick, we've worked with Clark County, and there's just some of you around the room. We've had some of your schools, but here's one example too of Georgie. We couldn't find anybody to dress up like Georgie this morning, but anyway, that's the mascot, Georgie Grown, and he's actually a real popular critter to go to schools. But this is Georgie Grown's Adventures in Agriculture. We have some of these that we kind of use that are in the hard thing, but we don't print 50,000 of these. We push it digitally so that the local school system or local farm bureau might want to print this book and put their own logo on it. That's fine, because that's where the future of that is. Well, we always got a few of these to hand at the fair or give to you today, but and Georgie's got a cookbook now. Georgie's got a food safety book, and we're usually trying to brand him too, and it's working pretty good. But the biggest thing for school, we rolled out in December. Chairman McCall and Chairman Wilkerson, we asked them to kind of help. We're going to kind of represent y'all's end of the business in this kickoff, but. We're just 4.5 short years away from the start of the 2020 school year, and occasionally the Lord just kind of pops on the back of the head with a little idea, and that's where that came from. But we're thinking about 2020 is really about vision, and so we've began in December, a 2020 vision for school nutrition in Georgia, around Georgia Grown, and that vision is pretty simple. It's by the start of the school year 2020, every school, every meal, every day, at least 20% of that menu is Georgia Grown. How do we get there? And we'd like for 20% of the schools to be at 50%. How do we get there? We've got a huge vision team with Department of Public Health, Department of Education, our team, people, parents, teachers, school nutrition folks, and there's a lot of buy-in. So it's not going to be about us telling people exactly how to do it, but if we can set the example where everybody can do something to try to meet this goal. And if we do that, we establish this brand with a kindergartner. That's what we got. We established this brand with a kindergartner in elementary school. And they're and their parents in Kroger, in Harvey's. They see this. Mama, I want to buy that. Jack's already had personal experience with that with his grandchild. And so there's a little method to that madness too, because there's long-term benefits of building this brand that are going to wind up helping our producers and the jobs that put that barbecue sauce in that jar. And that's what it's all about. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the chance to be here today.
Does anybody have any questions for any of the three? Dominic?
Thank you, Commissioner. Just want to say thank you for what you do, but just had a couple of things in my mind from our dinner last night with the Peanut Commission. We just, Armin Morris and I have just talked a minute about trying to get peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the prisons, as an option to maybe to use more peanuts, obviously, to try to do that. And I know we talk a lot about schools, but I had overheard Representative Sam Watson saying the other day that if they keep vegetables in the freezer, the cooler too long, it goes over a certain date, they'll try to sell them to like food banks and whatever, and just get reimbursed the cost of the box and the packing and things like that. And so, just quickly, is there anything that we can do with the Department of Corrections and the commissioner there to try to get some food into those prisons like that Representative Watson was referring to? And just as a follow-up, something that just crossed my mind looking at these packages, is there a standard that is used or a measurement standard that is used to be able to say it is Georgia grown?
No, sir.
Like, for example, the barbecue sauce, are what percentage of ingredients used is Georgia grown? So, okay. But thank you so much for what you do.
Yes, sir. Yes, let me answer the first one first. Is actually Commissioner Bryson is trying. They want to find a way to support the program. I don't think we're going to be putting logos on inmate uniforms or nothing, but he wants to do on the food side seriously.
Right.
And we've already had a couple of discussions. But I think that will start if they have that commitment and be able to, do some of those products that they actually don't grow, because they grow a lot of their own products, y'all are aware. but there's more of that we can do, and he really is. We've had several discussions. Nothing's gelled yet, but I think you'll see some progress in that area. The second thing to remember about Georgia Grown is not a police. We don't have Georgia Grown police. We're not going to. The program may mature where there's a certified 100% Georgia Grown program somehow down there, but really the power we missed it. Because we're never going to be fully Georgia Grown if you want to be a purist, because I have no idea where the bottle came from. The notion is the jobs and the Georgia families that are taking pride in creating product, and they are buying product locally, and the aspiration is there. But for us, we felt it's a whole lot better off to build a wide base. And there's going to be enough. You leave it also in the hands of the individual business, because if they're growing their own, they can do it all. Then we have a style guide that says 100% Georgia Grown, and they can use it. So we kind of leave that in the hands of the people. We don't, it's be a little goofy if we walk in a Kroger with a Georgia Grown sticker on a pineapple, because that's pretty obvious.
That's what I was referring to. Is more of the guy that says,
and I'm
just going to go online and be a Georgia Grown logo holder, and then just slapping it on a. But that's a good example of pineapple.
And
Georgia
we don't yet have a regulatory scheme for, but we do have our folks that are in the field. When we find something like that, we try to have a little corrective behavior, and to make sure that doesn't get abused. We had a guy up in Cumming, kept last year that just all Georgia Grown stuff, and then he had on a thing of bananas or something. He's not in business anymore. That didn't have anything to do with us, but it really had everything to do with he wasn't doing right, and his customers recognized it, and they quit going, and that's what put him out of business. He put himself out of business.
But when Georgia Grown members do ascribe and they go on the website and agree to pay their membership level and pay their monies, they do accept an agreement and a standard, and we do have the prerogative to pull that membership for abuse. Knock on wood, we haven't had to do it yet, but as the program grows, that certainly might. We had reported to us last week. We did our due diligence. A company in Mississippi was using Georgia Grown. When we contacted the company, we did not realize that they had relocated. They were a company very viable in the Waynesboro, Georgia area, and they were using up their old labels. They apologized, but they did give us full credibility that they are a Georgia product-based company today. They just moved.
Buddy, that you or Rick?
That's me, but I just, and this is not a question, I just want to say this program is great, and our farmers, now it might not be too long before you see a pineapple with a Georgia Grown.
Hey, you're right.
This Oliver Farms from Pitts, Georgia.
Yes.
I thought he was crazy when he told me he was growing 100 acres of sunflowers and was going to cold press the oil and add and infuse it with herbs, and he's been all the way to California now promoting this stuff in garden and gun. Y'all have inspired our farmers to do a lot more than I think they ever would have. The other thing that's come out of this is the agritourism. People want to go and see where these sunflowers are growing, and they want to see what these farmers are doing innovatively and producing products that are Georgia grown. So thank y'all for the program and for what it's doing and what it's meaning for every area of the state.
Photographers in that sunflower field over here from 40 or 37 different states. Just photographers coming when they bloom and do photos.
Thank you for your kind. Yes, sir.
One more thing, Commissioner. Thank you for having a come to Jesus with the Commissioner of Insurance, who had a come to Jesus with the Fire Marshal, who let us be able to eat fried peanut butter sandwiches today.
Yes, and it was just as simple as, why don't we pull a couple of fire extinguishers out of their case and take them over there next to the table, just in case something happens.
Little common sense.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, can I say one more word about AI?
Yeah.
And y'all don't lose sight of this, and I mean this. We have worked hard, and thank y'all for supporting us. But you know, we'd be remiss. Lord's protected us. There's no reason in science. There's no reason. I mean, every bit of science, every bit of veterinary medicine, every bit of wildlife management was told you we were going to get eat up. And I'm telling you, the H5N2 virus ain't there. And it tore Iowa and Minnesota up. These birds went up in the Arctic. And so, you know, we may get it today, but we don't lose sight of the fact God has delivered this state. We've been praying for that, and we don't lose sight of that, because all this science and all this preparation, all that's good, but Lord Jesus is Lord of the virus too, and everything. You know, y'all know that, and so see that's good stuff, and we'll still be vigilant, and you know, right now, I know it's a controversial subject to a lot of folks, but this department is boldly advocating global warming. We are strong supporters of global warming, because it gets above 65 degrees, this virus dies. So we all in favor of it from moving forward. So
you stay right there, man. If there's a question about what we got to do next. Yesterday I told you about 20 after 5. It dawned on me that we had to reappoint our ex officio member to the commodity commissions. The ex officio is the ex officio, and tell me if I'm saying it wrong, commission is made up of the Commissioner of Agriculture, the President of Farm Bureau, a person from the north that we appoint, and a person from the south that the Senate Ag Committee appoints. And if it's okay with the committee, and Gary can concur with me, that I'd like to reappoint a guy named Russ Moon from Madison County to the ex officio. They grow soybeans, chickens, strawberries, whatever else you can think of over there. And I think the commodity commission people who's on the commission say that he does a good job. It's a 2-year deal. We have to do every even-numbered year. So if that would be okay with the committee, I'd like to reappoint Russ.
We talked about this last night, Mr. Chairman. Can you just clarify? Does this individual serve on all of the various commodity commissions, or I'm just a little hazy on the
let
the structure,
unhaze it, because I'll probably get it more hazy.
Okay.
No,
thank you.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Representative Williams, this goes, the Commodity Marketing Act now is, you know, I guess we've passed our 50th year of that being Georgia law, and so the design of that was that there would be a committee that would review all the nominations for all the commodity commissions.
Okay.
They don't serve on, but and so their duties are real heavy a couple of days a year, and then the rest of the year they don't attend or participate in anything.
Okay.
The commissions that they serve would be everything. It's easier to say who they don't deal with. They do not deal with the Peanut Commission, because that's a separate law. They do not deal with the Equine Commission, because theirs is written a little different. They don't deal with Georgia Grown. But all the other ones, vegetable, pecan, cotton, milk, those producer groups make nominations for the commission, and from that pool of nominations, those two ex officio members with the President of the Farm Bureau and myself, we serve as kind of that nominating committee and review them and then make the appointments.
Gotcha. That clears me up, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion this time we reappoint Russ Moon to the Commodity Commission.
All right, got a motion and a second. I think Regina probably knows him. Anybody else got any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Toby left. I appreciate everybody that got a chance to come by and meet Dean Perdue yesterday. I think personally that he is going to be great for that Cal College on the Hill in Athens, and he will do anything he can to work with us, and if you need him, call him. Thank y'all for everything you've done this session. I hope everybody is back, and if I can do anything to help you, if you got a race, I wish you would please call on me, and we'll load up a bunch of us ag people and come help you. But thank y'all again for everything you've done all year.